Hey, what's up, Ty? This is a quick demo video for you for your staff by Starfall Sabers. I did a rebuild on this guy for you. I did a lot of things on it, so I kind of just want to go over exactly what I did to it. Some parts I was able to reuse and some parts I did not. Like your NeoPixel pins on this side and this side, I had to take those out. They were JB welded in. They didn't have a cap in on top of the pins that I'll show you right now. I got your blade plugs in. I was going to show you how those light up, but we can do this real quick as I'm walking you through this. We'll start from the outside and then we'll go to the inside. I'll show you this one side, but they're both identical. So I use the same type of purple substrate NeoPixel PCBs, but the difference is I print a cap that goes over the top of that as well. So it's a 7-pin system. It's in my own holder, and then I pop a cap. There's a press fit cap on top of that, so that's all you see in there, and it goes the same on both sides. The ones that were in there didn't have a cap on them, and I just needed to take them out anyway. In order to rewire everything, those had to come out, so I just started new. Those were JB welded in, so they were very difficult to get out. I actually had to use a hammer, a flathead screwdriver, a torch, and some other nefarious things to get all that out and get them cleaned up. But I got them out of there. I gutted everything. I did find when I initially got this thing and I fired it up, I just tried to fire it up initially so that I could see what was going on with it. One side worked fine, right? So both sides here, you got 2 switches. I replaced both of these switches, by the way. They're the same types of switches. I just put brand new ones in. Both of them, the buttons nearest to the emitters will be your power button or your activation. And then the buttons closest to the middle right here will be your auxiliaries. This is running 2 Proffie boards. But what I noticed was one side was working and the other one was not. And then when I took these caps off that hold the switches, the wires for one side of the switches, they had absolutely just been popped off or cut off or whatever. But they had also been JB welded onto these gold plates on the back, which is what I did also. I JB welded the new ones in, but because of where they broke, the prongs were under the JB weld, so all of that had to be taken out. And I thought, well, if I'm going to replace one set, I'll just replace both sets. That way, I know everything works. I get a little weird on reusing parts. I did reuse your 2 boards. Those are the only things that I reused. So I noticed that one Proffie board looked like a regular KR Sabers board or something that you'd get from either 123 Electronics or from Saber Bay. And then your other Proffie board was from Dark Wolf, and it's a white one. I did test both of those out and I reused them both. So that's what we did on the outside. So how to get to this guy is to the recharge ports is you've got a screw right here and you've got one right here. So you need to take both of those out. That's what we'll do right now. One of the main issues that you had besides the switch wires being broken was that you had two 24 millimeter speakers in here right in the middle. So this is where the sound venting is at. You had them right in the middle and they were facing each other. So these were your two 24 millimeter speakers. They were facing each other, which isn't so bad, but on top of facing each other, they were put up right against each other. So there was no good sound quality. They were reverbing off of each other, and it was creating a horrible sound. So I got rid of that chassis design altogether. I ripped that chassis out, threw it away. I took those speakers out. They were Saber Essential 24 millimeter speakers, and I put you some badass Smuggler's Outpost 24 millimeter speakers in this guy. So now that I took those 2 screws out, this thing just slides open, just like that. Now what you've got here is you got a recharge port on each side. Each Proffie board that sits about right here has its own battery about back here, right? Same here, board, battery. Now I put those 2 24 millimeter speakers in there, but as you can see right here, I angled them like this. So now, right, they're facing your sound venting holes right here, but they're also shooting up towards the sound venting holes and they don't touch each other. So this is basically 2 chassis that are identical and always except for one. This board right here will face more towards the middle just because of the way I had to put this together. There's not a whole lot of room in this guy to do what I needed to do. So it was a very interesting install for me because you can't just put a battery in the chassis and wire the board up and then put it in. If you did that, that chassis is as far back as it can possibly go right now. So I had to put, I take my empty chassis, throw my battery all the way in it, put it in here and slide it back so that I could do the same thing with this chassis over here, put the battery all the way in the chassis, put it in this slot, slide it back. Now that's locked in place. Now I was able to take this guy, move it back over here in this space, bring took the battery and moved it to the back of the chassis, wired the board, put everything in, slid this in place, and then did it again on this side. But because this is the last side that I did, you can't really do the same install as you did over here because there's no room. Once you slide this guy into place, this over here, this is as far as this chassis will slide. It locks into place right here and there's nowhere for it to go. So I had to be able to wire this board right up here and then be able to slide it in place. So that's why this chassis right here has a smaller shelf than this one does, and that board right here is slightly more towards the middle piece than this one is. This one's tucked away back here because I had to be able to slide this guy in when everything was wired and in place. I don't know if that makes sense to you. It makes sense to me, but I'm the one that did it. But there's just a lot to do to enable the room, for those two speakers, because now I'm taking up that much room for those two speakers now, where before they were crammed in about like that. So there was a lot more play to do everything. But I was happy to be able to get this system to work, because this is what I had envisioned when you and I first discussed this, and it sounds really good. So for the purpose of this, well, actually I am going to put the cap on and lock it down. I wasn't going to do that, but I want you to be able to see what these speakers sound like when this thing is slid into place and locked down. I'm just going to lock it down with one screw though, because that's all it needs. So you just pull each kill key. I got them both on the same sound font so that, we can test both sides equally. And then you do put the two screws back, but like I said, for this demo, I'm just going to put the one in because that's all we really need to do for functionality. Just got to make sure it's lined up. These screws are a little smaller, so everything needs to be lined up properly. It's a beautiful Saber, very well put together, very well made. There's just some tricks to it, right? So I put that guy in. Now remember I said this side right here, your front button is your activation. And then this side, that's lighting up. This is lighting up. You got good, smooth swing. NeoPixel blade plugs are lined up like they should. Auxiliary. We'll turn them off at the same time. We'll go to the next sound font. Hit auxiliary.
Hero's Journey. Hero's Journey.
On. You can hear that sound is very clear no matter which side or which Proffie board you're activating. So now it sounds exactly like it should. Flash on clash. Off. We'll play the music for this side first. We'll turn that off. And then we'll do this side music. But you can hear each side is pretty crisp. Now, if we wanted to, just for shits, we could play both sides of the music. Let me see if I can do this together. That's both sides together. Now we'll turn them off at the same time. Just like that. So I am going to take these blade plugs out and we will go over, I'll just throw a test blade in each side real quick so that you can see that everything's working like it should. These NeoPixel blade plugs, they're NeoPixel blade plugs. So the pins are working, but I just want you to see that they're also working with the blade. I'm not going to lock it down because I'm just going to swap sides, but we'll go first side. We'll turn that off. Put your blade plug back in. Well, we'll leave that out real quick. So we'll flop over here. Try to do this all in camera so that you can see we're testing both sides. Side 2. And I'll take that out and I'll just put your blade plugs back in just so that you can see everything is working. Then I'll lock these back down. So as you can see, everything's working on this Saber as it should. Sound quality works, speakers work, you know what I mean? For anybody who's been following the Saber community the last couple of days, it's been a wild ride over speakers. But anyway, if you got any questions, please let me know. If not, I'm gonna package this guy up and try to get it out to you in the mail tomorrow. Thanks.